We're live, boys. Welcome, America, to the very best hour of your day, assuming your day is very, very mediocre. This is the Eric and Rodney Show with Robin, and today's special guest, the man who's trying to save the world, James Black. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, James.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, James.
But before we get to how you're saving the world, we have to cover the news because America demands our opinions on such things. So, Robin, my friend, what is going on today?
Yeah. Our first story, we are covering Trump again. This is the second day in a row. So Donald Trump went from the courtroom back again to his campaign in a blink of an eye. His new election goal, to save himself, as he is now avoiding 37 federal charges related to mishandling classified documents.
Well, 37 isn't that much. Seems fine.
It's only 37.
This plays into our best friend Tucker Carlson's latest show. I don't know if you guys have had the pleasure. It's the greatest thing on the internet. It's also the worst thing on the internet, but it's beautiful. Did you watch Tucker Carlson's show?
I did. It's on Twitter. It's moved from Fox to Twitter.
Yeah. Despite the fact that he got a cease and desist from Fox, he continues to do this news story. But it's just odd because Tucker's a big Trump guy, despite what his texts said, his private texts. But it used to be a time in this country where if you sided with a former communist superpower who is actively engaging in war and then stole documents from the White House, even Republicans would be upset by this. They are no longer upset. I don't help me understand.
I'll help you. There are bigger issues.
Oh,
Bigger issues.
The other thing that's fucking so bizarre to me is that if you listen to Tucker's defense of him, and I know this isn't the Tucker Carlson hour, but he acts like it's only American Democrats that are anti-Russia aggression, right? Like it's only us. As it turns out, every country in the world except for 5 signed a document saying we don't like what Russia's doing. The 5 that didn't, if you recall, Russia, Belarus, Syria, Nicaragua, and North Korea. And you know who's on their team? Republicans. It's conceptually bizarre.
You can always count on good old North Korea to go that way.
When did half of our country decide that we're in bed with, North Korea and Russia?
Scary stuff. But you have to protect your principles.
Yeah. Even when Tucker makes a fair point, because he goes like, all right, we spend too much money, right? We're $1 trillion over whatever the deficit. He goes, the roads are all fucked up. I'm like, yes, you're absolutely right. We're spending way too much money. The infrastructure's falling apart. But then he goes, you know why? Because we're giving all the money to Ukraine, which is like, no, you lost me. You were half right. We should be spending money on American shit, but we're not giving all the money to Ukraine. What about the 4 years Trump was in office? The infrastructure still sucked. I just fucking hate this guy.
Well, you remember in the Trump campaign, in the Trump presidency, every week was Small Business Week. Right? Like, no, that's next week. No, so here's an interesting thing is that I listened to it, but I don't recall him referring to the leader of Ukraine as sweaty and rat-like.
Tucker Carlson is such a dick. It's the false equivalency hour. All he does is match 2 things that make no sense to get his side all riled up. It's masterful.
It seems like he's gotten Fox riled up.
Well, yeah, they gave him a cease and desist. He even says Trump is mainly in trouble. And the reason he's in jail is because in 2016, he said there were no weapons of mass destruction. The fucking Dixie Chicks said there were no weapons of mass destruction. Like everyone knows it. You know what I mean? He acts like, oh shit, he said it. Everyone said it constantly.
That's true.
Robin, do you have these kinds of problems in the Philippines?
No, but from an outsider's perspective, like on every social media platform that I go on, whenever I see an American, they're always pro-Trump. So it's confusing to me. Like,
what website are you on?
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, they're all like filled with pro-Trump people. It's
QAnon TV. I think, well, I would say it's a loud minority, but it's not because he won the presidency. It's a loud half of us. Well, we were saying like we don't have the equivalent of a Tucker Carlson or an Alex Jones or a Bill O'Reilly on the left. So it could be us.
That's right.
And Robin, you're going to lead the charge. You seem very fired up about this.
He's all the pieces.
Yeah, I know. James, how do you feel about Donald Trump?
I think this is one of the most comical topics ever. It's just back and forth, both sides. it's entertainment. To me, it's like the WWE, man.
I
Like
agree.
that's what politics has really become. This conversation to me, it happens and it's so fierce everywhere.
I know.
And honestly, I could give a shit.
Yeah.
Either way, I think what we need some reform in our country as far as politics go. But what do you do? How do you get the cool kids out of their own playground?
Yeah.
When you're not invited in. So, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're right, if you're left, no matter what, there needs to be some change. But that takes the people coming together and uniting and getting past all of their differences and getting past all of the things that they give us for division.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like, no matter how mad we get, we can't do anything about it. So then we just get mad at the next news story and mad at the next news story.
That's where everybody stops. That's where everybody thinks, oh, no matter how mad we get, we can't do anything about it. That's actually bullshit, man. This country was founded on the fact that we can do something about it. Yeah. There's more of us than there are of them. The problem is they've got us buffaloed thinking, oh, no way, man. You guys can't do anything. We'll call the military.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the military is made up of, you and me.
Mm-hmm.
These kids come from Alabama, where I'm at right now. You think these guys, it doesn't matter if they like Trump or not. What the problem is politics.
I do, yeah, we're also not angry enough to act, because like when we went to war with England, half the country was like, fuck that. This is great. We're part of England. They have money. Like, it's fine. The taxes, who gives a shit? Patrick Henry had to do the whole give me liberty, give me death thing. And still people are like, nah, fuck you. And what they had to do is go to war and potentially die to get their way. We're way too comfortable to go to war and die. So we're just like, we'll bitch about it. We'll write about it online. Then we move on.
Well, it's because we got comfortable. What happens is the men that went through the World War I and World War II, they were tough men. Vietnam, those guys were tough men. But what happens is the generations got weaker and weaker because tough men create better lives for their kids.
Right.
And so then those kids don't go through the same tough things that we went through. How many times do we say today, I grew up out in the street when the lights came on outside. That's when you had to be home. I have one child out of 8 kids that does that. And the other kids, I'm like, go outside, go out. And they're like, no, do we have to?
Wait, you have 8 kids?
I have 8 kids, yeah.
Yeah, no, we're going to get into that later. That's
but it all comes back to
only 8?
Only 8, yeah.
That's just mess.
Well, they told me what was causing it finally, and man, I went right down to the doctor. So, had that surgery. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
It's a different thing, but we bred weaker-minded kids, and they've done that kind of on purpose. And then especially in America, everybody's so comfortable that we'll bitch about it. Sure, we'll complain about it all day long.
Yeah,
nobody's so uncomfortable they'll change it.
Yeah, I quote this all the time. It's like the Chris Rock gays in the military thing. He's like, let them serve. I'm not serving. Same thing. So like, I'm not tough. I need everyone that wants to serve. Like everyone's mad that the Navy's running an LGBT recruitment campaign. I don't give a shit. If you want to go to war, because I'm staying here. I need more tough people going over there. This isn't hair for war. This is hair for quiet comfort. Yeah, no one's gonna change.
Yeah.
Unless the 4 of us band together.
When times get tough enough, everybody will change.
But here's the thing: like us liberals, we're not tough. We're just not. No one from Massachusetts, no one from Harvard is going to go serve somewhere. All right, what's the next news story? We can move on from Trump.
Okay. Well,
he's going to be here every day for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
This topic's not as interesting, but let's see if we can make it interesting. Rent, for the first time in history, is tipping in favor of the tenants. So apartment construction is booming, and at least half of the largest cities in the U.S., the new leases, the prices have gone down by a lot. So as well as being a good thing for the tenants, it's also working in favor for decelerating rent, which should help slow down inflation a little bit.
See, this is another one where I think the headline is disingenuous as fuck. If you read the article, it says that rent has climbed less than 2% in the last 12 months. Rent is 500% too expensive. So climbing less than 2 is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like we're supposed to be excited that it only climbed 2%. Life is cost prohibitive. We cannot afford to live. And here's the thing. They got us over a barrel with groceries. We need to eat and we need a roof. So whatever they charge, we just, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that's what it is. Aren't you happy it only went up 2% over the last 12 months? No! So stop trying to tell me we should be, you dicks. Here's the other thing. We're not angry enough to go to war with the landlords. We need more people.
Then you just have a month where you don't pay.
That's
right. It's got like, I remember one time they were saying, and I don't know if this would work, but they were saying like about the student loans. They were like, well, the student loans, you can't afford them and this and that. What happens if everyone just doesn't pay that month? What happens? What are they going to do? Put us all in jail?
I don't think
I don't have any student loans, but what could you do? Like if everyone said we're not going to pay taxes this year, what do? They'll have to change the tax code.
I think it's a better idea for student loans because they really can't do anything. If you don't pay your rent, they could kick you out of the house, I guess. But student loans, what are they going to kick me out of? I already forgot everything you taught me anyway. Jokes on.
Actually, if you don't pay your student loans, this is what happens. They come by and they grab your degree and your cap and gown.
That's all it takes. You can have it, sir.
I'm never going to wear this again, but thank you. Take care, right? Yeah.
This is the other thing. All these stories tie together. We're constantly talking about there's not depopulation. There's not enough Americans. There's not enough anybody. We're not having enough babies. We can't afford rent, shitheads. Like, you know what I mean? We can't afford to put our 8 children, which begs the question now, how do you afford 8 children? I couldn't afford 8 hamsters.
Yeah, it's a juggle, man. You just keep pressing, and especially when you're doing the things that I'm doing, trying to change the world. It's a fight, and you just keep going. I don't know. You figure it out. We live in a time of just massive abundance, you know. So what happens is you can always figure it out. Yeah. And that's why, I don't know, the stresses of all these things and everybody's up in arms in the country about it. It's just, to me, it's propaganda to the point to where they just want us to be divided. You know, the problem is if we all came together, that's what would freak them all out, because we'd be like, wait a second, this is just all bullshit. Yeah. You know, we really don't have differences between the right and the left, or color and race and all these different things. Morgan Freeman said one of the greatest things about race. They said, when is race going to stop being an issue? He goes, when you stop putting the microphone in my face and asking me about it. You know, and so I don't know. It's when you have 8 kids, your perspective changes, man. I used to not be very patient. I used to, I was raised by German women. You know, my grandmother is from Germany. My mother was born in Germany. So everything, and then there were soldiers on top of it. So everything was super militant. Wow. And now I'm just like, ah! Yeah, you know, I'm a lot more relaxed and everything. And but with the kids, they say that, but it changes you, and so perspectives change, and especially with age, man. Yeah. You know, we all hit that 40-year mark, and all of a sudden a light goes on. It's like, whoa, wait a second, things are different than we actually thought.
Is the cannabis help too?
You know, man, come on. I've been growing cannabis since the mid-90s. I started, it was just one of those things. I looked in my hand, I saw some seeds, and I was like, wait a second, I don't have to pay for this.
That's how it grows out of the ground. Yeah.
And so I started. My mom caught me that first time, and boy, I'm going to tell you what, she about killed me. And then 6 weeks later, I did the exact same thing in the exact same spot. She caught me again, about killed me again. Yeah. That's when I learned to put them outside. And so that began my outdoor education. But I did that. And then in 2001, got a medical caregiver license. And so I always did that on the side. So I've been legal since then in cannabis. And it was fun always. But what that did was I was always trying to just grow the best weed. And this old hippie guy, he smoked this joint of mine when I was like 17. I thought it was the best weed I'd ever seen. I was like, man, I am a stud. I'm a fucking shit. And this guy took one hit of it and threw this joint in the dirt and stepped on it.
Wow.
And like he stepped on my dreams, aspirations, my heart broke. Everything happened all in that moment. And I was just like, ah. Yeah. And he goes, if you're going to do this, he goes, grow organically or just don't grow. And he just walked off. And I was just
like the ghost of Willie Nelson.
I mean, it must have been, man. Must have been Willie's dealer.
Yeah.
And so that started me really studying soil and how to grow and get better terpene percentages and different things. And so, but I thought I was doing this with, like, everybody else already knew this. I wasn't going to college. So I thought, I was just learning from the School of Hard Knocks. I had no idea this was like brand new kind of stuff. And
Mm.
learning about microorganisms and no-till farming and all these different things back 8, 10, 15 years ago. And so now I've been talking about it for that long, and nobody wants to listen to you. Now all of a sudden 2023, and it's the buzzwords that are happening if you go and look up anything.
Yeah.
Sustainability, regenerative agriculture, carbon sequestration, and these things.
Yeah.
And I'm a math nerd. I was a physics kid in college, actually, and didn't want to be stuck in a lab. And so I just kept going with cannabis and sales. But my big thing is that I saw that with microbes and replenishing the microorganisms, because especially in agriculture, you can sequester more carbon or greenhouse gases than with planting any plants or doing anything else or pulling it out of the air or doing all these things. And mathematically, if we're going to stave off this 1.5 degrees Celsius increase, the only way you can do that is through the use of microbes. Because through traditional agriculture methods, that we still are practicing methods today that Jethro Tull back in the 1800s, these guys were talking about. This is when they believed that the roots of plants had little mouths and were eating the nutrients in the soil. And this is what started the synthetic fertilizer boom. And what's happened is now we poison the ground, we've poisoned our water, and all of that microlife has been depleted. And then through tilling, we've released over 190 billion tons of carbon back into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So, but the problem now is the farmers, they know that there's an issue with that. But their crops are at this one level. They make pennies on hundreds of dollars of investment. And so they can't take any kind of a hit to change their practices over to regenerative agriculture. And that's where the use of microbes, I think, is such an important thing, but also these carbon markets that are now coming online that are available, but everybody's really cautious of, and it's because it's a new thing. Everybody all of a sudden thinks, especially in the US, it's like carbon credits are like crypto, and it's not at all. These are things that it's really, really a great tool that's going to be able to help farmers bridge that gap so we can get everybody to regenerative agricultural practices. Even cannabis farmers, everybody was so on with cannabis, like, oh, this is great. And, but cannabis is one of the most carbon emitting businesses in agriculture because of the use of the electricity and all of the chemicals that they use, especially, good God, man, these cannabis farmers think that you can't grow that shit without buying a bottle of somebody's chemical. It's funny when I tell everybody, before there was Clonex, they just used to spit on the plants and put the Clonex in. And everybody's like, no way, man. And it's the funniest shit. You teach these kids that kind of stuff. You don't have to buy a $75 bottle of shit that's killing us all.
Yeah.
Isn't it wild that you've gotten here because you love getting high? Like, isn't that beautiful?
I know, right?
If you were, you know what I mean?
That's exactly what I tell everybody.
Yeah, man. If you just love
marijuana is the catalyst for it all.
It's the gateway drug to saving the planet. That's what it is.
Bro, we moved to Columbia. Two of our kids are I have my sister's 2 daughters, and we have custody there. But so 6 of our own kids. And in 2018, I had built a farm in Colorado, but these guys wanted me to do it all over the world. And so I've been going to South America. I had an opportunity to move to Colombia, and I looked at my wife and I was like, let's do it. I don't ever want to look at life and say, what if we did? And she's like, all right. So we literally sold everything we had and moved to Colombia, South America for 2 years, in Armenia. Didn't know any Spanish. I thought I knew some Spanish, but that was laughable. And so we did that, came back in 2020 because of COVID. And I moved to Alabama. These guys wanted me to do like 120 acres of hemp down here. And I was like, I don't know if you really understand what you're talking about. And so I did 30 acres that year, but we fell in love with the South down here. Very much like Colombia. People are very hard-headed.
I was gonna like, well, because they all love cocaine. Did you grow Organic cocaine must be unbelievable, right? Because
well, in Colombia, they're looking to legalize cocaine. And right now, everybody in Colombia, and when I lived there, you could grow 20 coca plants and 20 cannabis plants.
Oh, just like
that's your medical allotment.
What? Medical?
For real. Yeah, so cannabis is medically legal in Colombia, but they did the same thing with cocaine because, like, for real, it's everywhere.
What?
Like people's grandmas.
Cocaine is that good for what? Like migraines, cataracts? What bullshit thing do I have to come up with to grow some cocoa?
No, you
just have to be there, right?
You just have to go to. Okay, so I don't have to lie. I can just go. All right, that's better. Boys, we're going.
No, and now they're going to legalize it. So when you get there, you'll be able to buy it, and it'll be regulated, so you don't have to worry about fentanyl and stuff. And,
the podcast is moving to Colombia.
Or the show, dollar goes. It's 4.5 times more valuable there. Your dollar. So if you've got what they say gringo money, man, you live like a king in Colombia.
We'll be Pablo Escobar.
I know, no shit.
Same in the Philippines as well.
Yeah, Philippines is another good place to.
Dude, we'll have gringo money and organic cocaine. What are we doing here? What is happening?
And we know how to send email.
We know how to. That's all we need.
You can do your podcast from anywhere. You can make that room any room in the house in any place.
That's very true.
Oh, yeah.
God bless Colombia. Yes,
we actually covered the whole carbon credit topic, but none of us really understood what it was.
We were the first to cover it, actually.
Maybe you can actually help us understand what
it was. Breaking news. So Delta, the whole thing with Delta lying about going green and blah blah blah. Did you know anything about this?
I've read a little bit about it. I try to stay away from just the news about it all, but this is Melissa, that my favorite thing is a boat. But with carbon credits, just the basics of it. Okay, 1 carbon credit is worth 1 ton of carbon sequestered out of the atmosphere. Whether you're doing it with plants, whether you're doing it with soil, whether you're doing it with direct air capture, it doesn't matter how you're doing it. But if you can prove that you've sequestered 1 ton of carbon out of the atmosphere, then that's 1 carbon credit.
Is that a lot of carbon? I'm an idiot, but is that a lot of? Is that
no? So, like, to give you an example, like for hemp, we'll talk industrial hemp because we'll just keep it interesting for everybody. Industrial hemp is one of the better sequestering plants on the planet. It sequesters typically somewhere on average between 7 to 11 tons per acre.
Okay.
So that's 7 to 11 credits that you're getting now per acre for the carbon that's pulled out of the atmosphere. Now, those carbon credits are right now on sustainable side are worth about $37 to $42 per credit. Okay. Now, who's buying those? Everybody wonders, well, where's this money coming from? It's not from the governments. It's not from subsidies. The companies that are buying them, that have the need to offset their carbon footprint. So Microsoft, Amazon, all of these companies that have thousands of employees that generate tons and tons of waste, tons and tons of electricity, tons and tons and tons of shit that they're pumping into the atmosphere. It's carbon. Well, they're now buying those credits per ton to offset what they're doing with their business. And so this is how we're going to get to a net carbon world. So if we can, like the country of Bhutan, they actually are net zero, actually carbon negative. They sequester 7 tons of carbon out of the atmosphere, 7 million tons of carbon out of the atmosphere, maybe that's wrong, 70 million, something like that. I know it's with a 7. Anyway, the forests sequester more carbon in Bhutan than what the country puts out and generates by like 30%. So they're generating carbon credits now that they can sell to other countries, other organizations that need to offset their carbon. But as soon as all of that carbon is accounted for, then now we need more offsets. So what is the way to do that? You have to create a higher yield carbon credit. How do we get basically a multiplier on these credits? And there's a bunch of different ways. If you can switch a farmer that's been tilling the ground and using nothing but synthetic fertilizers, well, if you can reduce their synthetic fertilizers by 30%, get them to switch to either a shallow till or a no-till method, and help increase their yield at the same time, which is what our microbes do, then Now it's starting to make sense for them. Now, over 5 years, you get them fully away from synthetics, which are poison in the water. Because really, like the phosphorus that they buy, they spend hundreds of dollars per acre on phosphorus, but only 2% of it ever reaches the plant. But the other 98% hits our water table, and we're all poisoned with it and drinking. And life expectancy is now in the 70s.
So is your solution cheaper? Because it seems to be that they're not going to spend any more money to help the planet.
Right. Well, see, so what I wanted to do, my whole vision is you can't go to a farmer here and say, hey, we want to increase the amount of money you spend on inputs. Yes, it's going to increase your yield, but you tell a farmer that you're going to increase their overhead.
Yeah.
Good luck. It doesn't matter what you say after that.
Right.
Because they can't do that right now. They don't make hardly anything, man.
Right.
And so I wanted to come up with a way, how do we take care of this? So now what we can do is we've joined forces with the two companies. Give Life makes the microbes. We have a blend of microbes that are specific to helping the plants grow better, fix nitrogen out of the atmosphere, turn methane into nitrogen with the use of some of our friends' microbes that we're combining. And then with that, we can combine that with the CO2 sequence that's managing the carbon credits. Now we can write a term to the farmer on the microbe use and have that come out of the carbon credit. So that way the farmer doesn't see the actual direct cost.
Yeah.
So that way now, why wouldn't they try it? If I can help increase your yield, get you to these sustainable practices, and give you extra money from these carbon credits, what you're going to why would you say no to that? But you have to give farmers a way to help them. You can't just expect them to change and lose money. And that's what a lot of companies are doing.
Yeah.
So this is your stuff, microbes, everything. It made weed better. It made your weed So ergo, everything would be better. I'm getting better tomatoes.
It's basically across the board. I haven't found any plants that it doesn't affect. Some plants it affects a little bit less. Like for instance, like corn. It's not, you don't get 35% increase in yield. There you're getting about a 20% increase. But it's still, that's a massive difference. If you can increase the yield on a 10,000 acre farm by 20%, holy shit.
Sure.
Yeah, that seems significant.
Right. But the big thing is too, it also works towards national security, because you got to understand that 95% of the fertilizer that comes into the country is coming from these countries like Russia and China, where we have national security issues with. And regardless, again, if you're Democrat or Republican, this is something that everybody's really well aware of now. But if we can increase food security while helping increase national security as an issue overall too, we're really addressing a lot of issues.
Are farmers receptive to this idea, or do they think it's some hippie bullshit? Because you're in Alabama, right? You're in the middle of it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's very difficult. U.S. farmers are more of a pain in the ass, honest to God. If they're old school farmers, they're almost impossible. If their daddy didn't tell them, bro, I'm telling you what, you're never going to convince them. But most farming operations, especially the larger ones anymore, they're really up to speed. Their kids have been going to college. They've got degrees in sciences and all of these different things to help. And they're really, really well versed and super, super knowledgeable. The issue is, again, when you've got a 10,000 acre operation, you've got a lot of risk involved.
Do the farmers in the U.S. also own their land?
Some do, some are leasehold.
Yeah, some are leasehold.
I think a lot of them are leasehold and owned by major corporations and these things. So again, the farmers are a lot of times just typically workers.
Okay.
That's what's really hard. They live on the futures, and a couple of cents per bushel on things really affects their life.
Yeah.
Right.
So how many farms do you have right now using your stuff?
Right now we're reformulated the product. That we had it going on here with some trials. We've got trials going on at Alabama A&M University, and then with our friends at Impello Biosciences out in Colorado. We've got a lot of data. The thing is the formula came from a product that was several different products along the years. So now with Give Life, we had to just go through a lot of the same trials. So we've reformulated it from a liquid though to a powder form.
Mhm.
And right now our launch is going to be down in South America in Chile in September, and going into Chile, Peru, Colombia, and then Ecuador.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are they going to use it on? What kind of farms? What are we growing?
Right now we're looking at wineries, we're looking at banana, avocado, we're doing a lot of different things. So we hope to be starting some major trials with some good companies soon. And as soon as we get those fully inked and on paper, I'll be putting those on LinkedIn as a press release. But there's some serious companies that we've been talking to, so we're really excited about what's coming.
Nice. Is there hope for the
Yeah.
planet, or are we all going to die?
You know, man,
How many minutes do we have?
I think there's hope. That, you know, the thing is this is really serious. You know, if you Google it, there's only 50 or 60 years of topsoil left before the whole world is a dust bowl, and that's what I'm trying to save. This other stuff, I don't know, but microbes are seriously the best solution we have at helping save it.
James, you have a lead.
Yep. I happen to, doesn't Melissa have a farm? Didn't we cover that?
She does have a farm. Yeah.
So there you go. There's one farm in the United States that
It's
you
a
can
tree
grow.
farm, remember?
Listen, the Eric and Rodney Show is changing the trajectory of the United States and really the world.
That is
Yeah.
true. We've done more good than Alex Jones. I'm joking.
We've only been on a month. Is it the reverse? So your parents were mad at you when you smoke weed. Are you mad when your 8 children don't smoke weed? You're like, come on,
No,
this is
you know
family
what?
business. Get your shit together.
The way I am is, you know, we treat it like just a normal thing. You know, it's a medicine thing. You're not allowed to use it until you're a certain age. It's not, you know, it's just like anything that's kind of prescribed. And if you do that, then what happens is the kids, they don't have a stigma to it. You know, I have a daughter, she's 17, she's about to be 18,
Yeah.
and it's never even an issue with her.
Yeah.
You know, my 15-year-old son, he asks questions and stuff, but he's more like he's interested in the cultivation side of it.
Yeah.
And but you know, it's something that I think it's just like sex, it's just like drugs and alcohol. You need to be open with your kids. You have to talk to your kids and know your kids, you know. Be part of their lives. And the problem is now is this is the biggest poison in our world.
Right.
You know, it's because we're so distracted by everything. The kids are the ones suffering the most right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can put the phone down and get back into their lives and you get in their face, and you know, they all say I'm kind of a hard ass here, but what's great is I can turn all 8 kids loose somewhere with somebody else that they don't even know.
Yeah.
And everybody's freaked out. Everybody's like, oh my God, man, what am I going to do? And then an hour later, they come back and they're like, dude, your kids are the most well-behaved children on earth. And it's like, yeah, we talk to our kids. We treat them like people, and we want them to know that they are going to be leading the next generation.
Mm-hmm. Plus they're high, so they're mellow. See, the demonization of drugs in this country is some of the wildest shit. Like, I'm a big fan of psychedelics. Mushrooms, finally, Salem, Massachusetts.
Me too.
Just criminalized psilocybin.
Sure.
DC, like I went down to DC. My brothers live there, and he was like, "Do you want to do mushrooms?" I was like, "What a stupid question." And then he had a bag of professionally packaged mushrooms. I was like, "What is this?" Like, decriminalized in DC. So it's like, why? And listen,
go to Etsy, dude.
What's that?
Go to Etsy.
Oh, you can buy mushrooms on Etsy.
Dude, look it up right now. I mean, I'm telling you, you can get anything you want right there from Etsy.
You could. Now you can.
I didn't know. So psilocybin is celebrated on Etsy. Yeah. And listen, I don't even like weed. Weed dulls me. I get paranoid on it. But like, why these things are illegal is fucking mind blowing. And I'm a drinker, but it's the worst of all the casual drugs.
100%. That's the gateway drug, you know, and that was the thing that everybody didn't talk about in the 60s and 70s. Dad was sitting there saying, marijuana is a gateway drug while he's got a fucking glass of Jack Daniels and Coke in his hand.
Right.
You know, and so, you know,
that's good.
Alcohol is poison.
Yeah.
If it comes from the earth, it's probably not. That's just how I believe. That's how I teach the kids. But there's a time and a place for everything.
Yeah.
You know, and there's an age for everything. When you're growing, you got to let your brain develop, and you got to learn to use your mind. You know, we all think we are our minds, and we forget that our mind is just a tool that we have.
Right.
And so we get stuck in our brains, and that's where we get worry and doubt, and we get so caught up in the past and future and all this shit. It comes from our mind. But man, I was doing this talk I heard one day. The guy said, "We're not our minds," and for some reason that thought hit me so crazily because I've got ADHD like crazy, so I'm always stuck in my mind. And it was the first time that I was ever able to just let that go. And it was like, you know what? All this shit doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
You know, the politics and stuff, it's fun to talk about it, and it's fun to get into and make fun of and stuff like that. But I think it's time to just reconnect with life. You know, that's what the psychedelics are. There's such a huge movement for these microdosing things with MDMA, with cannabis, even with mushrooms, ketamine, LSD. They're doing it with everything because what it is we're finding out that you can't trust your eyes. Your mind is just a tool, and that's the way that you see these things, and you learn and you grow spiritually.
Right. Totally agree. MDMA, I believe, was originally prescribed for couples that have marital problems, which is a genius fucking idea. Like you're arguing with your wife, but then you both take ecstasy. I'm going to tell you, you're going to stop arguing. Right?
Yeah, you won't be arguing about anything. That's true.
Well, and if you guys haven't, if you haven't done this one, the DMT is something that will truly change your life.
I'm trying. So I know that white Americans have ruined the ayahuasca tourism experience. So like now I don't.
Well, there's some really good ones in Mexico, but you really need to find true shamans. And you'll know just by looking at them. If they look like a Mexican, that's not a shaman. And it's same thing when you go to South America.
Gotta write that down.
You see somebody in Colombia that says that they're a shaman, but they look like a normal Colombian. You don't go there. You will know, I promise you, 100% when you have a shaman. But you've got to, it's a stepping up thing, I think. And that's the only thing I would recommend to anybody is just make sure that you're ready for that. And because to go from mushrooms to an ayahuasca thing, woo, buddy, you're talking about.
Well, so what would you say is the natural progression?
Can you give us the hierarchy of psychedelics? Because
mushrooms are great to start with, depending on where your dosage is at. All the 2 to 3 grammars are some really good basic spiritual times when you're out, but then getting into the DMT, because DMT is a major part of ayahuasca.
Right.
That's going to be the next step.
Ooh, that seems like a leap, but all right, I'm in.
But DMT, I promise you, it's short, but it literally, you'll see how everything goes together and how it all works together.
When you say short, asking for a friend,
like 15 to 20 minutes of an experience.
I have that kind of time. I can do that on my lunch break.
But and there's no like residual
hangover
from not like from LSD you get that tripped out feeling and everything else. You don't have that at all with DMT.
Okay.
But you can do too much and then all of a sudden you feel like you left the planet and
so if you go on YouTube and you watch these people that have had, I think it's DMT and not ayahuasca, but they go through like a tube of sacred geometry. At the end, they talk to some non-human intelligent being that exposes them to some truth. That sounds fun as fuck. Like, listen, I know it's spiritual and everything else, but I'm in.
Yeah, it's great. Do it, but you need, of course, any of these kind of things you do in a controlled environment where you're safe. It's a safe place. You're having a good time. You're really focused on positivity, and but there are great places to do it. If you just look hard enough, you can find them. So
most of my experiences on psychedelics and only mushrooms. I always find myself anxious. So is DMT probably like a better drug to take than mushrooms?
Yeah, you're getting that from mushrooms because of the fact of the unknown. So all of a sudden you get this fear when you take them that you took too much, and you don't know what that feeling is going to be like, because actually psilocybin naturally will take your anxiety away.
Yeah.
And so
I totally agree. I've never gotten anxious on psilocybin.
No, I've never been anxious.
And that's again just goes in your mindset. But if you go into any psychedelic with that kind of a mindset, like, oh, I don't know, maybe I took too much, or all of a sudden you just freak yourself out. And that's literally, that shows you the power of our mind. Your mind controls that trip. So you've got to be totally relaxed. And that's why it's good to have somebody there like a shaman, somebody that has experience that can walk you through it. They tell you, no, you're okay. You're just going through a moment, just breathe like this. And then all of a sudden you're just like, wow, okay, I'm right again.
Unless
But
it's a
the
Mexican
DMT
shaman, in which case, run.
the DMT will, it comes really fast and it's very intense. So you don't really want to move, you know, but you'll just mainly see patterns through, but it's how they go through everything. It's like you can see how electrons work and how there's more space in us than there is matter, and it's crazy.
You were selling this hard. I love it. Did you? So there's a book that came out and they turned into a Netflix docuseries called How to Change Your Mind, I believe. Did you watch that?
Yeah.
I didn't get to the end, but did they talk about the desert toad, the 5-MeO DMT, which is supposed to be the, you gotta.
Yeah, I'm not to that level with psych.
I think the guy from Vice did that, right? The guy from Pharmacopoeia.
Oh, did he? Did he?
Yeah.
He free-based toad
He
poison?
did, and he took some guy with him, and the guy literally had to take him. And these were real shamans. They had to take him out to a river. He was foaming at the mouth, and they brought him back, and he was like completely changed.
So my dog actually went through that experience because in the Philippines we have African toads inside the Philippines. So they're not native to the Philippines, but like agriculturists.
Your dog did 5-MeO DMT.
Probably not 5-MeO DMT, but it was like some kind of variant of
he had a family of frogs
that got really high.
You're walking on your dog free-basing frog poison. You're like, come on. How many times?
Right. So
at least close the door.
He was doing like backflips in the yard, and I was calling vet like, "What's going on with my dog?" And he's like, "Oh, he's just high as fuck." This
can't be real. I think you're on psilocybin right now. You're talking some crazy.
No.
Heroic dose.
No, I'm serious. So we really do have African toads in the Philippines, and the reason being is because agriculturists in the 70s thought it was a good idea to bring them over to the Philippines as like pest control. And then they just had no natural predator, so they just multiplied, and we just have like hundreds of thousands of them.
I'm no toad doctor. I think those are the ones you like. The ones we have are in the desert. They bury themselves in the sand. You got to go out at night with a headlamp. They come out for mating season after it rains to fuck. You got to catch them. You squeeze the side. You point them in a mirror, squeeze the side, and shoot the poison on the mirror. You're going to wait 24 hours. The poison turns into a powder. Then somebody else has to light it on fire while you snort it because you're going to pass out before your head hits the pillow. So I'm not sure if there's the same toads. Give it a shot. I just gave you the instructions.
I think you left out one of the instructions.
No, that's it.
You have to meet the troll under the bridge and give him the password and then do that.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, my dog survived it, so it's worth a shot.
No, I think you should do it. It might make you a little anxious because I know how you get on psychedelic. Wow. That's funny. We've learned a lot. Do you think we're trending the right way with legalization? Do you think it's going to be, and where do you draw the line? Do we do cocaine?
You know, I think if we legalize everything, then a lot of the problem goes away. You know, because it's mainly stigma. It's like in Europe, you know, the kids are able to drink at 14. And they don't have the problems with alcoholism like we do. Right. Problem is I think they do. It's just that nobody says they're an alcoholic over there. But you know, it's what you're accustomed to. If you're told not to do something, of course, what do you want to do? I was that way. You told me not to do something, I was like, of course, let me see what that was. You know, but if it was just an accepted thing that, hey, yeah, no, you could do that, but that's something that you do over there, like a red light district type thing, and there was a place for that kind of a thing, whatever. Yeah. You know, I'm about it because it does take a hit on the black market. You never get rid of those kinds of things and criminals. There's always a black market because there's always a need for the things.
Yeah. Well, to your point about you growing shitty weed, like these days, I still know people that buy from dealers. I'm like, listen, science has got involved with drugs. It's so much.
The problem is all the dealers are buying the back door from the legal marijuana industry, bro.
Say that again.
All of the dealers are buying it from the legal marijuana industry.
So what are you doing? Buying it from the guy down the street?
It's like you get the packs from anywhere, and you get a pack of weed, and it literally comes labeled with the fucking thing from the store in California, and you're like, really? Yeah.
This is what I'm so excited about. Like a garden tomato versus a supermarket tomato. There's no. You know what I mean? The weed right down the hall versus your weed. Wait until cocaine. I mean, that is going to be unbelievable.
Well, you know, it's one of those things. It's just like with cannabis in Colorado. All of a sudden, it was super amazing. It was awesome. It was everywhere. Everybody was talking about it. And now it's just like a normal thing.
Exactly. They've
made it everywhere. But
that's true.
Yeah. Well, like countries like Portugal right there, which I wanted to expatriate to, but now they've done away with golden visa program like a bunch of assholes. All drugs are legal. And if you get caught on the street twice high, they assign you a nurse. They don't send you to prison, which is like probably a better idea, because us sending people to jail for getting high, not a great idea.
Yeah, but a lot of what we do is based on the prison system too.
Yeah, especially private prisons. It's amazing. You build a private prison and then arrests start going up everywhere. It's like you build a prison, people start committing crimes. That's strange.
So I was actually, I think Eric, I might have told you a story. I actually recently was in Portugal on a bicycle tour, and I went up to one of the guys who was smoking a joint. Who was on the tour, and I said, you can smoke weed here? And he's like, yeah. And I said, what else can you do? He's like, well, you can do coke. He's like, you want some? And I was like, no, I'm on a tour. And I was just like, he's like, yeah. He's like, you can carry. And he started telling me about it. And I was like, and what's how do we move here?
Yeah, well,
yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. You know, a lot of different countries, like in Colombia, it's funny. You tell them that weed was legal and they tell you no. Every Colombian says no, but then everybody smokes weed. Everybody's got, cocaine. I mean, like literally everywhere. So it's, again, because it's illegal, it's one of those, it's taboo type thing. Just like just when they made alcohol illegal here, more people drank during that time than any other time in history. And it's actually what's caused right now how much people drink. Yeah. 73% of Americans have more than 3 drinks per day.
73?
Yeah, 73%. That's if you can't go a week without thinking about a drink, you're technically defined as an alcoholic. So that's almost everybody I know.
I was going to say, all right, thank you for indicting all of us.
And so, but that's where it's at, and so, but that's conditioning. Yeah. And so if we just condition everybody that, hey, yeah, drugs are legal and you do that shit over there. If you want to be a retard and go do that, do that. Yeah. But if you're, you live a normal life like a normal American, do that too.
Yeah, the stigmatization too, because I will mention like my love for psychedelics, and a certain part of the people then or in the group I'm talking to will freak the fuck out and associate that with all other drugs, which it is not meth. It's
so easily demonized.
It's demonized to the point of absurdity. And when you see how they show people like in movies that are high, like Reefer Madness is a classic example.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, the devil's like. You sit on a couch and listen to Pink Floyd. That's what we're afraid of. You fucking dorks.
The devil's lettuce.
You guys should have seen so in 2014, I got a cannabis license in Pueblo County, Colorado. Mm-hmm. All right. You had to go to a public hearing at the courthouse, and everybody in the vicinity that was within so many miles from you got a public notice from the county saying that you're applying for a marijuana license for a grow, and they were able to come to that meeting. Well, to bitch. Well, they did multiple licensings per day, right? And so we got there, it was like 2:00 in the afternoon, and this courthouse was fucking packed. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, man, this is crazy. There must be a lot of people here for licensing. Well, there's an alcohol license that went ahead of me. This guy that was renewing an alcohol license on a golf course that was right next to a school that didn't have a fence in between the bar to the school.
Right. Yeah, perfect.
Nobody in the fucking audience said one word.
Yeah.
Not one fucking thing. Then these other 2 people, when they were renewing their license or making an amendment or something to their license, it wasn't really a big deal. So nobody was bitching about that. Well, I was the third one to go up. Everybody in that fucking courtroom was there for me.
Yeah.
And these people went up one after another saying how I was the devil, how everything, dude. I was the reason for the downfall of society. And you gotta understand, back in 2014, Colorado was still a Republican state. Mm-hmm. And all these people were good old boys that had property and ranches and land out there for the longest of times. Yeah. So I sat through 3 hours of these people berating me, and they never even met me. And so I go up to the stand, and I'm the one standing there, and everybody's like, wait, this guy? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, so, hi, guys, I'm James, but I'm not the devil that you're saying.
Right.
I'm a father of 6 kids, or we had 5 at the time. I'm a father of 5.
Yeah.
I'm actually, I came from a Republican family. Mm-hmm. I was a cowboy when I was a kid. My grandfather was a bull rider. And I said I was born in Loveland, and all of a sudden people started kind of filtering out.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, the lady that was the commissioner that was approving licenses, her name was Joan. She looked at me and she was like, from across the room, because I was just like, this is not what you guys think. But it's because that's what they were taught.
Exactly.
That's
It's
right.
like I got a super libertarian friend, and we argue all the time. But there was one seminal argument where I was like, "All right, you're libertarian, you hate paying taxes, so you don't like schools, you don't like roads, you don't like the police, you don't like the airport."
But
Yeah, he goes, no, I like those things. So I go, okay, so what don't you like? He was like, well, I don't like ridiculous government spending. Dumb. None of us like ridiculous government spending. So can we agree on that and stop labeling ourselves and deal with the issues at hand, which is what you defanged your argument, or you made yourself relatable. And they're like, I don't hate him anymore. I got to leave. Which is what
it's time to go hate somebody else.
Yeah, we'll go hate somebody. Exactly.
Come to the next meeting, right?
Yeah, it's really weird.
I tell anybody that says that they're a libertarian, go live for a year in Colombia.
Right.
Because you want to see what libertarianism is when people will literally step over you. If you're dying in the street, they won't look at you to help you. If you go to the hospital there's two questions. Do you have insurance? If you say no, they say, do you have the money to pay for this?
Yeah.
And if you say no, they say, go die over there. We'll pick you up when you're dead.
Yeah, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like libertarians, your house is on fire. They want you want to write a check before they put your house out? Like, what do you stop? It doesn't their house.
No, and it's serious.
Yeah, I know.
And they won't help you, and they leave you alone. And on your land, you do whatever the fuck you want.
Mm-hmm.
But don't you dare involve your neighbor.
I don't want to live like that.
Yeah, but that's libertarianism, and and so when people just say it, what it is what we all want is we all want to be more involved and know what's really going on in our government. When they pass 7 bills a day that are over 1,000 pages or 1,500 pages that they put together last week on Tuesday, nobody has a chance to read that shit. You don't know what's going on. You have no idea what these things are being passed. Yeah. We don't even know what the issues are.
And the riders, it's
never
one issue, because it can't be one issue and have 1,000 pages. They put riders in that don't matter to the bill itself. But then if you vote against that, they go, oh, what, you hate the military? You go, no, you're funding pedophilia. And they go, oh, fucking no, you hate the military. Yep. So, but the other thing is lobbying. Like, once lobbying got involved in the government, throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's a fucking disaster. And something like 95% of campaigns that spend the most money win. So at that point, you go, all right, so we're done. We're fucked. We're an oligarchy. We're not a democracy. It's a mess.
Yeah.
But I think if we all got high, we'd solve a lot of
problems.
That's
why smoke some weed, do a little bit of psychedelics in proportion. And bro, help save the world with microbes. Yeah. That's all you can really do. That's, unless somebody's going to go start a revolution. I'm happy doing this. This is my revolution because I know I can help the soil. I know when people see what microbes and stuff can do, it's like life changing. And to see that on a farmer's face, especially when they see just a thought of some relief coming, some funds coming to their family that weren't there before, bro, that hope being restored in somebody's eyes. I don't care what anybody says what they're doing in life for. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Save the planet, making the farmers more money, better vegetables, everything's better. We don't have much time left, but because you're a fan of psychedelics, what do you think the best music is for a psychedelic experience?
That's a good question.
That depends on your mood, but always something just positive. You got to just, no matter what it is, if there's anything negative in the music, we just remove it from.
I agree with you. Because one night we did a bunch of mushrooms and I love DMX, but at midnight they put DMX on. I was like, don't get me wrong. You gotta shut this shit off right now.
Right now. No. And you get it. I like more of just those binaural beats kind of thing where you just have some ominous music playing in the background and you're just like, yes.
Speaking of which, have you heard Spangle? Are you familiar with the work of Spangle?
Spangle, no.
Yeah, I'll send you. They have like 18 albums. It's all mushroom music. It's the best.
Oh, that's awesome. I like listening to Pink Floyd.
You guys have to check out Etsy now. I'm telling you can literally get everything mushroom-wise from Etsy.
I love
chocolate bars, gummies. You can get mushroom caps. You can get everything.
Etsy's the Wild West, and then UPS becomes the drug dealer, which they know. But
and in Oregon, you can get everything. You can get DMT. You can get everything.
I am learning so much.
Now the show is moving to Oregon.
They legalized everything in Oregon.
Even DMT?
Yeah, bro. You can do anything. LSD, MDMA, ketamine.
See, I live in Massachusetts. We were founded by Puritans. You still can't buy alcohol in a shit ton of stores. Only recently could we buy it on Sundays. So I have to go to Oregon.
I live in
I'm
a
in-
state where you
yeah.
can't buy a lottery ticket.
No,
I'm in New York, and they legalized marijuana a couple years ago, and they're still sorting out the details on how to sell it and tax it.
yeah,
Oh
there's
my
still no
God, yeah.
dispensaries or
New
anything,
York's a mess.
There's like 6. I think there's 6 places to buy it, and 3 of them are in Albany, and I'm actually on Long Island, which is outside of New York City. Albany is I've never been, and I have no intent of going. It's like a nightmare. It's like I can't believe they can't figure this out. Like this seems pretty straightforward.
right?
But if you need some weed, guess where you're going? Albany.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Etsy. Robin, what's
Yeah.
this psychedelic situation in the Philippines? Are you guys okay with it?
Definitely not. I think it's sort of like a gray area. But like if you get caught with it, if you get caught dealing it, of course you're going to go to jail. But if you're caught using it, it's probably just like you're going to have to do community service or something like that.
Or if you get $10, you can pay the cop off, which we've
Yeah.
understood, James.
Yeah.
It's a constant fascination of ours how little you have to bribe the police in the Philippines.
Yeah, but majority of the opinion on drugs in the Philippines is just like if you do drugs, you're the devil. So
Well,
It's-
you're a very Catholic.
But everybody does them just in secret.
yeah.
Exactly.
You know what the funny thing is Eric, you're asking the wrong questions. When we went to the Philippines, Robin could just round us up what's those things called? A skewer of the black frogs. Is that what they're called?
Oh, that's right. The African frog.
African toads.
We asked 5 or 6 of them, right? And we have 5 or 6 of them, and we'll be able to cure about anything. We'll be able to,
You guys want the experience? You let me know. We'll go to Colombia. I'll introduce you to some pretty cool shit.
Oh, I don't have to let you. I can let you know now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
interested in
yeah,
this.
we're interested.
No, all I need is a reason to go back.
I just checked. I'm interested.
And it's the cheapest vacation you'll ever go on.
Wow.
That's perfect.
So, what's a flight to Colombia going to run us? Yeah, ballpark.
Depending on the time of year, right now it's between $200 to $600, depending on the airline. If you can fly like Spirit or what's the other cheaper one? Copa, I think.
Okay.
They're only like $200 to $300 round trip, dude.
Nice. And I imagine lodging and food is pretty cheap down there.
Oh yeah, you can stay in a nice hotel for $50 a night, like a nice hotel.
I can't
And
stay
then
at a
sounds right.
Holiday Inn Express for
Food
50.
is like, we go out, if we spend, I mean, we'll take like 8 people out, and everybody has drinks and wine and steak and everything. If you spend $100, I mean $150, you really went like all out. Like you like had 3 bottles and shit.
That's Eric and I. That's Eric and I waiting at the bar for our table at lunch.
Yeah. No, I mean, and then everything is cheap. You can rent a helicopter to go on a tour for like $400.
So I have an idea.
And, yeah.
The James Black guided tours to Colombia.
Yeah.
We have a few people watching that are interested. I know I certainly am.
Mm-hmm.
I am
know Eric's ready.
You could be my shaman.
as soon as possible. I don't know if that's a good idea. That gives me responsibility, and I'm not
That's
good
true.
with that. I'm
We'll have
good with
Robin
vision
here.
and drive and that kind of a thing. Not so much
Okay.
responsibility.
It's fine. All right. Well, this is exactly
was
the kind
great.
of show that LinkedIn wants on their platform. So,
I'm sure.
And it's
yeah.
exactly the kind of show that LinkedIn needs.
I'm so glad I invited my whole network. And
Yeah, that's what we want.
I think if they're in your network, they kind of know your deal, right? This can't be surprising to them.
no,
Imagine-
and I'm pretty outgoing.
Imagine they were like, we had no idea. No.
That's James. Actually, I'm sure there will be a couple people that if they saw this would be like, really?
I had a guy one time. I had one guy one time on my LinkedIn. This was years ago, and I announced something that I had done, and he's like, I had no idea. He's like, I had no idea. We just went through a transition or whatever. He goes, I thought you sold copiers. Copiers.
You're
What?
salesman. Yes, yes. Well, most people when they first meet me, I tell them James Black, and then they come back with, "Okay, Kevin, thanks." I mean, it's literally same conversation. Or the Jack Black thing. You know, the next time we talk, oh hey Jack.
Black.
No, well, whatever. At least that's close enough. So
Well,
Yeah.
what have you said today? You said that we should farm in a better way. That's
Mhm.
sustainable and better for the farmers. Everything tastes better. And you said weed's okay. So I don't know. It's not, we did okay. It's
We
not
did
too-
great.
not too controversial.
Yeah, we did
And
amazing.
psychedelics are a good way to open your minds.
Exactly.
That's right.
This is Psychedelic Hour with James Black.
I wore the hoodie just for it.
Yeah. Well, this was the hour. I think we did pretty good.
You did great.
guys. Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. We'll see you in Columbia.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, Ed.
Bye, James.
Bye, America.